Here are pictures of the Orlando mass shooter, and he bears a striking resemblance to the Antichrist, Zack Knight. Even his attitude and bearing seem to be a lot like Zack Knight. I mean, here he is. Now, here's my pretty accurate drawing of Zack Knight. And notice the similarities, and I will be going on that. Okay, I'm going to be explaining what I'm hearing brain to brain. I have not heard from my men in quite a while. And when I went out for my walk today, I noticed a cloud shaped like a triangle, like a perfect triangle with the point at Orlando and spreading out like this towards Melbourne, where I live. So Orlando is to the northwest of me, and this cloud's point was at Orlando and spreading out like a triangle towards Melbourne or Brevard County. Orlando's in Orange County, Florida. I was talking with Brent brain to brain while I was walking, and I'm not sure how accurate brain to brain is, but from what I understand, Brent, Terrance, and my men are fighting the Jesuits in court to keep me alive, because the Jesuits feel I should be executed because my Gail Shield, which is an extension of my aura, or is actually part of me, is killing off Jesuits. In fact, from what I understand, no Jesuits are able to stay alive under that shield anywhere on Earth right now. The only Jesuit who can kind of stay alive for maybe a couple of seconds is Zack Knight, and I don't know how he's doing it, but you know, he is Satan incarnate, so maybe he's dying and resurrecting and dying and resurrecting and just staying underneath the shield, because he's the only Jesuit we can't kill. Zack Knight cannot be killed. He's the Antichrist, and he has to fulfill biblical prophecy. And even if he dies, Satan can immediately resurrect him. And apparently Jesus allows Satan to do this because he's the Antichrist. And somebody has to be the Antichrist to fulfill biblical prophecy. Okay. Brent told me, he said that what's happening with the Jesuits is they're living on a spacecraft in outer space, and that's where they're staying alive, the ones that are still alive. Any Jesuit who lands on Earth now is immediately killed by the shield. So I said, well, how did they do that terrorist attack in Orlando, that mass shooting at the gay nightclub? And Brent said actually a lot more than 50 people died. It was more like in the thousands. And the way Zack Knight did it is by using brain control. In other words, apparently there was more than one shooter, but the Jesuits only want us to know about this one particular shooter who has a striking resemblance to Zack Knight. I think Zack Knight is proud that he was able to pull this off in spite of the shield. And I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Maybe I won't. And so, and which I think is outrageous. I mean, I was outraged when I heard about this on the news, and I knew the Jesuits were involved with this somehow. And I'm just giving you what I'm hearing brain to brain, okay? It appears that Zack Knight was able to get underneath the shield. He doesn't stay alive I think he dies a couple times when he's under the shield, but he was able to drop off a bomb. And that's for that triangle that I saw coming from Orlando to Melbourne. And what he wanted to do with the bomb was he had a substance in the bomb that explodes into the air and causes people to fall under Jesuit or Zack Knight's brain control. And Zack Knight apparently wanted to make copies of himself using brain control. So he would take over people with brain control, and they would literally become Zack Knight in their mind, their memories, their motivations, and everything. Except the only difference is their body is still themselves, but basically their memories, their mind, their attitude is Zack Knight. And they were originally going to choose another Jesuit who got killed because I lightning bolted some Jesuits who were threatening death threats on me, and I used my shield, and my shield lightning bolts them. Apparently, I can use my shield to lightning bolt just about any Jesuit that's on Earth right now. So they're having a really hard time staying alive. They really hate my guts right now for that reason. So Zack Knight was planning on using this bomb to put a substance in the air that would be part of the explosion that would cause brain control, so that the populace affected that breathes in that substance would fall under his brain control, and like automatons would obey and become Zack Knight. And it there was a problem when it exploded. And apparently, he was able to. So Zack Knight tried to get as close to me as he could to drop off this bomb because he's trying to kill me. But the closest he could get and stay alive long enough to drop off the bomb was Orlando. And he decided to target the gay nightclub because a lot of gay Jesuits are defecting and joining Church of Gail. And this was his statement to defecting Jesuits, that I'm going to make an example of you, let you know what happens when you defect from the Jesuits. So that's why he targeted the gay nightclub. Apparently, I'm getting a lot of support from the gay community. They say I'm a tolerant, loving person and that I deserve to live. And maybe they were harking back to Nazi Germany when a lot of homosexuals died in the concentration camps, and those concentration camps were Jesuit concentration camps, by the way, with history that's been covered up. Anyways, so the bomb exploded, and Zack expected the outflow of the bomb to go all the way to Brevard County, and for me to be surrounded by brain control maniacs who would be little miniature Zack Knights who would attack me and kill me and any of my supporters. And here's what happened. When the bomb exploded, this is what I'm hearing brain to brain. When the bomb exploded in Orlando, my shield reacted to it. And anybody who was taking Seroquel, including myself, it leached the Seroquel from us, put it into the shield, and then multiplied it. See, using the same technology the Jesuits used, which is a multiplication technology, which is what they use in their Nukakis and their bombs. They can take a little bit amount of semen and multiply it 1,000,000 times over using this technology. Well, my shield did the same thing. My shield felt the threat, which is the threat to me. And it reacted by taking a little bit of Seroquel out of me and others who have been taking it, and it put it into the shield and multiplied it like 1,000,000 times over. And it caused the Seroquel to go into the air that everybody was breathing, so that only the very susceptible, the ones who maybe already were prone to schizophrenia or had yeast in their body already. In other words, usually in order for Jesuits to induce this kind of brain control, which actually makes the person schizophrenic because they go into an alternate reality, the person has to have like a yeast infection in their brain or something. That's what happened to Rick Scott. So those who already had a yeast infection, they fell sway to the brain control, and that's what happened to that guy, I think who went into the Orlando gay nightclub and shot everybody. Actually, the death toll from what I understand was much higher because there was more than one shooter involved. And they were all brain control victims, and they already had like a yeast infection in their brain, and so they were reacting to the bomb. But my shield came in and it swamped. So those people who, and also there was yeast in the bomb. So the Jesuits put yeast and brain control substance to give everybody a quick yeast infection and a quick brain control so that they'd all become miniature Zack Knights. But the Seroquel in my shield increased and drowned out the yeast and stopped the yeast and stopped the brain control. So it stopped in Orlando, but it didn't stop. The bomb was so powerful that it was not able to stop it completely. And that's why we're hearing in the news about the people killed at the gay nightclub. There were actually people killed at other places that weren't gay, but we're not hearing about that because Zack Knight doesn't want us to know about that. He wants to make it look like a Muslim attack because it kind of failed because he meant to get me and all my supporters, and my shield responded by leaching Seroquel from everybody and putting it in the air. So the same people that were breathing in the Zack Knight brain control substance started breathing in Seroquel, and it neutralized the Jesuit bomb and stopped it in Orlando, and it didn't go further than Orlando. I think his goal was to wipe out all of Florida. So the good news is, I actually saw that bomb. It was like a cloud. It was going out like a perfect triangle from Orlando to Melbourne. But apparently my shield put a dome over Melbourne with the Seroquel substance in it so that it neutralized the effects of that bomb. but the bomb was very powerful and it did affect some people in Orlando. So that my shield is a just shield. Jesus Christ made it a just shield. It's an extension of me, and I'm Jesus Christ's favorite. And it does not execute somebody who is an unwilling Jesuit or brain control victim. And Zack Knight figured this out, so he figured this is how he could weasel his way around the shield and use it to get me. But the shield is an intelligent shield. It has a brain, and it responded to the bomb by putting Seroquel in the air. So everybody, I encourage you. Anybody who was on Seroquel was not affected by this bomb, Jesuit bomb at all. The Seroquel neutralized the brain control. But those who had already had a yeast infection and were not on Seroquel, like this shooter who went into the Orlando nightclub bar, they became brain control victims. So he was an unwilling Jesuit. From what I understand, even the Jesuit automatons are falling apart underneath the shield, and they can't even keep them alive. So the last resort for Zack Knight is brain control. So everybody, you all need to take Seroquel. I think if we can get everybody to obey the Gail commandments, Jesus had a reason for putting Seroquel in there. And he told me to tell everybody else about the Gail commandments, that they're not just for me. So everybody, you need to go on Seroquel, and that will make it so that Zack Knight's, that's the only thing he has left. The Jesuits and their automatons are not doing well under my shield, and it's getting stronger. The only thing he has left is brain control. If we all take Seroquel, he won't be able to do even that. And then I believe we will defeat the Jesuit order. He won't have any weapons left. So everybody get on Seroquel. Contact my men at gailsmen@yahoo.com or gailchordschuler @gmail.com and ask them how you can be put on Seroquel. There is you can gain weight on Seroquel, but look at me. If you follow Jesus Christ weight management plan, calories in, calories out at myfitnesspal.com, you can manage your weight, okay? And it's better to be a little pudgy than to be a brain control victim. Though I'm not pudgy. I think I look pretty good. I'm keeping my weight in the 120s. I'm having a little trouble sleeping sometimes because Zack Knight attacks my sleep. But if you follow the Gail commandments, you can maintain a healthy weight and you don't fall victim to brain control. So I feel very bad for the people that were victims at that gay nightclub. That's an outrage. That's disgusting what Zack Knight did. He was basically punishing the gay Jesuits, from what I understand, who were defecting from the Jesuit order and who were inspired by me and apparently were celebrating at this gay nightclub. So he decided to target them first. So that's pretty disgusting. But if everybody in Florida was on Seroquel, this wouldn't have happened because the brain control wouldn't have worked. So anyways, that's my take on that. I'm also working on a paperback version of Brent Spiner's Flames. The audio book is completed, and it'll probably be up in a week or so. And I'm working on the paperback version, so that'll be ready shortly.